And everybody is just trying to live their lives in this crazy echo chamber of social media and just trying to keep up. Welcome to a new and rebranded Let's Get Mental. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the relaunched Let's Get Mental podcast. I'm your host, Lagaya Lang, and I am the founder and CEO of Lagaya Wellness. We work on mainly workplace mental health, but we like to talk about lots of topics on the podcast. And joining me today is my high school friend, Jordana Rip, who is a digital marketer in Los Angeles in entertainment and also a talent manager.
Yep.
Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think everyone can relate to, which is social media burnout and when social media actually affects our mental health in possibly negative ways. Social media burnout, I guess, to me, and of what I've studied about it, is when it becomes unhealthy for you to be, whether it's you're keeping the screen on and you're doom scrolling late at night. Your algorithm is no longer healthy. Like maybe somehow Meta knows that you are worried about the apocalypse or you are worried
go down
about
rabbit holes and
rabbit holes, puppies dying. And I was going through a phase where they kept showing me puppies that were about to die. Oh my gosh, I know. And my heart was breaking every night. So depending on your algorithm, social media can have a huge impact on your mental health and how you're feeling as you're using it. And burnout really has to do with that tipping point of when you're not using it just to connect with your friends. You're not using it just to create content for work. You're not using it to just pop something up that's funny about your day and share it with your friends and family. It's when you are literally scrolling through and dedicating a significant amount of time to it, and it's affecting how you feel.
Exactly. And attaching your mental health to your social media account.
And your worth.
Yes, and your worth. So your likes and your views. I remember during the pandemic specifically when we all went basically online and were working remotely, that I had to start muting my account so I wasn't constantly getting notifications, because I also ran 3 or 4 different IP accounts or studio accounts, or whatever I was working on. So I'd be constantly getting notifications and updates, and it really was stressing me out. It was like
overload.
Yeah, it was an overload, and there was no off button. It wasn't like, I would log in at work and in a physical sort of way, log in at work and then log off at the end of the day and go home. Everything was now on my phone. So I was, working basically all hours of the day. And so I ended up putting in a hard stop and turned off all of my notifications for outside of work hours. So, before 9 a.m. and after 6 p.m.
And you just wouldn't look.
Yeah, I wouldn't go into the app. There were times where I had to, like if there was a campaign that was running or, something urgent. Like a couple of times we had videos that went viral, so I needed to come in and work on, how we address that. And that was after hours or on a weekend or something like that. But I would have to actively go into the app to see these things.
Right.
As opposed to my phone constantly telling me what's going on, who's talking, what's happening. And, because I live so much in that world, yes, it's work, but it's also not work. I enjoy what I do. So it's that blurred line of it is burning me out, but I enjoy it at the same time. And I think that's the dichotomy that most people go through, is they enjoy social media, but they also know how detrimental it is.
Since you're a content creator, and you engage with social media differently than, say, I do. Well, now we're creating content for Lagaya Wellness, so it's sort of the same, but you do this as a living.
Yeah.
How do you identify burnout? How do you know when you're burnt out?
Yeah, I think probably like I was saying during the pandemic, when it got to a point where I just felt like I was on an app 24/7, whether it was work or whether it was social, I was just living inside these apps. And not having, it was hard during the pandemic, obviously, because we couldn't have like outside social lives or anything like that. But I think the pandemic really did spawn a generation of people that are coming up now that...
The alpha generation.
Yeah, that know nothing but digital.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're seeing a lot more, you know, even for me, like with the creators that I work with or help mentor or manage, so many of them tie their self-worth and,
Exactly.
you know, their mental health to how many likes they're getting or how many, you know, views they're getting. What I try to instill with them is all of these algorithms, and they're all vastly different, are businesses, and businesses have agendas, and on any given day the agenda might be different. So just because you post something probably fantastic, if it doesn't get views or it doesn't get likes, that doesn't mean it's a bad piece of content or that you're not doing well. It just means that the algorithm on that day had another agenda. So maybe
so when you boost something or it may or may not catch.
Well, I'm talking organically.
Yeah, I forget what that is.
Yeah. And I'm talking about creators that like have 100,000 followers or 1 million followers, or even I worked with one creator that had like 10 million followers. And if something doesn't hit what they deem as successful, I've seen the repercussions with them in terms of mental health. They will really get down and they'll go into a dark place.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I have to keep telling them is, again, it's an algorithm, which is a business which has an agenda and priorities, and they're trying to make money off of you. So what you really need to, you know, think about is, okay, did this piece of content that I put up hit what I wanted it to hit? No. How do we rectify that? Maybe we take it down and reposition it, or do we tweak it a little bit more, or do we reshoot it or re-edit it? Maybe there's a different time of day that we need to post it. There are so many different options.
You know, it's become like very serious to me, honestly, because of the business. And I used to just post things willy-nilly whenever I felt like it. However I wanted to express myself, I didn't care. Even when I was doing the podcast, because I wasn't trying to sell anything. I was just a presence, and I was really there to just help moms who were going through any type of postpartum know that they weren't alone. And now that I actually am in the business of selling a service, there's a whole new level of pressure on me when it comes to social media. I do love it. I love to be creative and to be doing things in different ways. However, I can see how burnout is a real thing. And I can see how it can be really unhealthy if your whole life revolves around, which for many of these kids I'm seeing, you know, the teenagers these days that are walking around constantly with their phone and ready to take a selfie all the time. All the time. Like,
well,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. And they're being brought up now in a world where every person with a social media account is essentially a business. They are influencers, whether they have like 10 people following them or 1 million people following them. They are influencers in some sort of degree. And personal branding then becomes such a big part of people's identity, far more than it ever has before. Everyone can theoretically be looked at as businesses.
As a brand of their own.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, even 5 years ago, that was not the case. A lot of these social media apps were still social connectors. You know, how you connected with your family and your friends. And maybe a couple influencers that you liked or brands that you liked. But now they are full-blown businesses.
I have a 5-year-old now, and I just don't know when I would ever give her a phone.
Once you start getting into the teenage years, which are arguably the most, you know, tumultuous in terms of social media.
But you're developing your brain at that time.
Because of your development.
You know, it's really, it can be dangerous.
It can be, it can be
especially
very dangerous.
Especially for your self-esteem. I mean, a lot of bullying goes on, happens online, on social media. It's amazing. You know, you see some of these documentaries on Netflix and Hulu
it's
or
horrific,
whatever. And what's done to kids online.
I know.
So quickly.
You and I are millennials, and we missed all of that.
Thank God.
I know. Like, I
got bullied in person.
Yeah, exactly. The old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way.
Just even the fact that kids these days have to deal with, you know, someone taking a photo of them in maybe the least flattering situation and posting it online, that lives on there forever. Like, I can remember being like a teenager at a party and maybe have drunk too much.
You?
Yeah, me, yeah, I would be mortified if that lived forever
In the ether.
in the ether.
Yeah.
Like, these kids really do have to deal with a lot, and they don't know anything different.
No, they don't know anything different, and then they don't know the ramifications of their like how that may affect their future
Yeah.
and their careers, and like God forbid they want to be a politician or something
Yeah,
like that. The first
100%.
thing that people go back and look at is your social media.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's all there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like a side pivot, but have a look at Love Island.
I
They've
know,
been going on a
You
rampage.
keep telling me.
They're going on a rampage of kicking people off the show because social media images and posts from maybe 6 years ago when they were kids, or, you know, in high school or whatever, are popping up, and it's coming back to bite these kids in the butt. And the tough thing is that kids will be kids, and they're going to make mistakes.
Of course.
But the fact that we can hold that against them as adults is what is scary and hard to sort of navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Australia, and I think we said France, have now started banning kids under the age of, well, I know in Australia it's 16, but I think you were saying in France it was
13.
13.
Yeah. I think I could
from
be
being
wrong.
on social media and being exposed to potentially harmful, you know, topics and subjects or visuals. I don't know what the answer is, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's something that I'm glad that a lot of these platforms are taking more seriously, and people's mental health more seriously from, you know, whether you're a child or an adult. As an adult, you have more freedom and ability to turn off your phone or step away. But at the end of the day, some people don't have the
resistance.
Yes, 100%,
and a lot of people who are successful in business now feel like they also have to have this very polished, successful image online that may or may not be representative of what's really going on in their mental health and in their actual life. And that's something that obviously we're going to be getting into with other guests. But it's really interesting, you know, how we're looking at these people as influencers, as people we look up to, as TED talkers and coaches. And there's so many life coaches right now. But they look like they have it all. Social media can really drive someone's popularity and someone's authority over other people. And it's amazing how quickly it can happen.
Yeah.
And we all sort of have to take a step back and remind ourselves, these are just people. You know?
Exactly.
And they make mistakes just like you and I do. And they probably have, these people that are famous have teams of people making sure they look perfect.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be expecting ourselves to look like that. They do not wake up like that. I don't care what Beyonce says. You know, you do not wake up like that. And everybody is just trying to live their lives in this crazy, you know, echo chamber. I guess to just wrap up this conversation, I would just want people to be aware of how much they're viewing their social media and how much is it interfering with your self-esteem and your self-worth and how you look at yourself. And if it's starting to make you feel like you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, or that it's having any type of negative impact on your physical or mental health, that signals a problem, and you probably need to look into how to limit social media intake for yourself. And when you are with family or at school or at work, try to limit it there, because you do want to be present and you don't want to always be on your phone. You know, we really do want to put our phones down and give ourselves a break once in a while and observe, be mindful of what's really going on around us.
Yeah, 100%.